It's live.
All right, very good. Thank you very much, all commissioners, for reassembling. We've just walked out of a closed session. I'm calling our regular meeting to order at this time. As everybody, if we could start off as we do with the Pledge of Allegiance, and we'll all just start it together. Are you ready?
Yep.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
United States of America,
and to
and to the republic
Republic
for which it
stands
stands, one
one
nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice
for all.
for all. All right, guys, good stuff. Thank you very much. Thanks to everybody for being here tonight. Again, it's January 6th, Monday, our first meeting of the new year. And we've got several things to do, but we've got a little bit of a pared down agenda tonight since we couldn't meet in person. And who knows, maybe the next meeting in January, we've got to do the same thing. We'll see. Oh, there we go. All right, good. Thanks again, everybody. All right, so the commissioner announcements and committee reports. Ed, do you mind giving us a start? Are you there? Yeah.
Sure, I'm here. Yeah, so we look at, I'll have Sarah go over the fair access piece, sustainable Poolesville. For the most part, just over the holidays, we've been laying kind of low. We'll get back up to speed in January. We did have one of our Pick It Up Poolesville since the last time we've met. And we're still looking at moving forward with the zero waste box, looking at different places where we could collect materials. And I know Wade, well, the town staff has been working with Donald to move forward with the zero waste box initiative. And then we're still looking at these different options to explore. We're exploring different options around composting. Other than that, that's about it. Other than that, that's it.
Very good, Sarah. You good to go?
Sure, yeah. We had the anniversary of White's Ferry being closed. Instead of doing any type of we've done some different events in the past, but this year, Jim and Link did an interview with Fran with my MC Media. And then we also posted Link wrote an editorial and submitted it to an online local blog, Montgomery Perspectives. Adam Pagnuccio, I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right, but it was well read. I think we just keep kind of reiterating our frustrations and our points, and we'll see where that leads. We were supposed to have the new County Council President Kate Stewart out later this month. It looks like we're gonna have to reschedule, but we'll keep working on that and getting that on the books. Link testified in support of the legislation that Lily Chi and Linda Foley put forward for an economic study of the Ag Reserve. That was about 2 weeks ago. That went well. And Nancy Kidd, one of our committee members, has put together this amazing matrix that has all of the county committees and boards, and we are filling in when seats are available and do we have someone from the Upper Western County on that board yet. So we're kind of in the process of very strategically making sure that we have representation, especially on the committees that impact us most. So we're doing some advocacy organizing. But that is about it on updates for now. We do have our meeting on Thursday, so I'll have some more next time.
Great. Thank you for that. Brian, what do you got for us, buddy?
Good evening. The Planning Commission met on the 11th, and we will meet of December, and we'll meet again next Wednesday. On the 11th, we elected a new slate of officers, given that I had to vacate my chairmanship, and we elected Lexi Huber as the commission president or commission chair, and Martin Radigan as the vice chair. Am I right? No.
No. Martin is the council liaison. The vice chair is Chuck.
Martin's not the council liaison.
Sorry.
Chuck.
Martin.
I was there, I
is-
promise.
Yeah, Martin is now had the open seat.
Right.
So I explained in the minutes also how the rearranging of the chairs.
Right.
But yes, no, Chuck is the new
Chuck
vice
is the co-chair or vice chair, whatever the term is. Yep. So they had a good meeting. We voted to extend the Bricken property preliminary plan end date by 12 months. It's fairly typical as long as they're staying in the process and engaging that these extensions can be given. So there was no reason not to. So that carried unanimously. We followed up on some of the cultural arts district stuff. Really gave, I think, Niles and Wade some good decisions on the way we want to go with the use chart and definitions and the sign code and stuff. So I think we're on the brink of having something kind of interesting to share. And staff was talking about how they have to. The town will have to do a survey. Actual. What do you call that, Wade?
Just a whole meets and bounds survey of the whole cultural arts district.
Yeah. And notices are going to be going out soon to the property owners. Is that correct?
They've already been notified.
Okay. And was there anything else that I didn't cover that you guys?
I think that was it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I love the whole idea of that getting a survey done of our downtown zone, which is as old as it gets around here.
Right, and we don't
So
have
that-
one.
that-
Right? I mean, it's never been done, has it? Wade?
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So yeah, good luck. You guys find any old stones, like those pyramids type stones sticking somewhere, let me know.
Hey, some of the old descriptions that we'll find, because we've done a couple, like on the John Poole house, was by the fence post by the big rock.
Good luck with
Yeah, that makes total sense.
I'm sure it's still there.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it may well be. Okay, thanks for that, Brian. Appreciate the update on that. Looking forward to it. And congrats on electing, is that the first female planning commission president? Anybody?
As long as I've been here, it is.
Yeah, I think it is.
Awesome.
So yeah,
Well,
that's great news.
She's gonna do great.
Yeah, and she's super strong. So this is good. Anybody beats the last one that we had, and no, I'm kidding.
Anyone at all.
No, I'm just kidding.
Not hard. It's not hard to do. So
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, no, you did. Brian, you served us with it. You got us through a great time period. Appreciate that. And you're handing a good running ship off to Lexi. So congrats on that. Congrats on the best decision making on that election as well, as far as I'm concerned. Okay, good stuff. Alan, can you help us out on the parks?
yeah, parks. Our meeting for December was canceled just due to some people out of town. Our next meeting is Wednesday, which I look forward to because it'll be my first parks board meeting, which I get a chance to sit in and digest some of the information and the infrastructure. I know we have some new business for the Trails Working Group. We're going to touch on. We're also going to do talk about, like Brian had mentioned earlier, a little bit of the Bricken property park and streets improvement. I'll get a little bit more information, obviously, when we have that meeting on Wednesday. Some of the older business, the dog park relocation follow-up we have to take care of. And a good, and again, some of the sidewalk priorities that we have that we'll be discussing as well. So, and that's what I have because I have not attended a meeting yet. But I will have a more thorough report after that.
Your day is coming.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you for that. And we appreciate all the updates from all the committee members. I'm just a few of them. Probably the biggest one and the most important one for the time being is that Link and I did a full prep on a presentation for our delegation, our D15 delegation for the pool bubble.
Mhm.
And thank you. I appreciate town staff giving us all they gave us on it to kind of help prepare us to a degree. And we had a long conversation. I mean, the meeting lasted an hour and a half, and they helped us shape how our messaging should be on it. And they also had some really interesting ideas on how they would see the timeframes work and come together for funding. So I think the walkaway, and who knows who's watching right now, but the walkaway is to ask for a lot of money that comes into being, first of all, everybody knows this is a terrible budget year, right? They will, to every single person that's related to the budget will tell you it's a terrible budget year, but the money is going somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my only response. And I said that to in our meeting with all due respect to everybody. We hear you loud and clear, but our last municipal ask from the state was the ask in 2007 to build town hall. And that was our last municipal ask. Yes, Riverworks has gotten some money. Crossvines was partially funded through the state. We get that. But our last municipal ask was for the building of town hall. So I really, we kind of made it clear, listen, we love you guys. We hear you loud and clear, but don't mistake our ask for that we want to get in line, because we haven't asked. And we're talking about something that's going to serve this entire region, assuming that we can move forward with it. So we made a real case for it. We worked in the guys that we've spoken to, both the people that run the St. Mary's, as well as our Missouri contact that has their pool very similar to ours, building very similar to ours. We had both of those as like first person anecdotal, in terms of showing use. We tried to come up with some AI derived photos of the pool in use by seniors. And it was pretty unique because the best one we had was the seniors were actually walking on the water. So we couldn't get there.
Special folk out here in Poolesville.
I was going to say, don't underestimate us, right? So we couldn't come up with anything that way. But again, town staff has done some good work so far, helping us with the fire marshal and the Clark Azar. We were spending a very minimum amount of money on this, trying to get the concept in the positioning that needs to be. But we're also looking at that this is going to be something where we've set aside a minimum amount of money so far, I think 40 grand. And we're going to be looking for, somebody to pay for all the capital expenditures. That's like building the buildings and prepping the pool apron to accept the bubble and the bubble itself. And then we're going to be looking, it looks like, for the county to do their part, which is going to be, run the bubble, run the entire, complex year round. So we haven't really figured that out. There's 3 buckets here that we're talking about: the town's bucket, which needs to be the smallest, the state's bucket, and the county's bucket they need to be contributory, and they need to move forward, and they need to not give us the lecture every single time we ask for something that there's no money and that's a terrible budget. The terrible budget is not our problem. As far as I'm concerned, we didn't make the terrible budget. We're just now the victims of the terrible budget, as far as I'm concerned, because they didn't send any of that money our way per se. That's just the way it went. So we had a good conversation. I'm sure they hear that from every single jurisdiction, and that's the way it goes. But that doesn't concern me either. And there's people that have been getting for a long, long time. And this is our first municipal ask. Yes, Riverworks has been an ask, and Riverworks is very important to us. It's going to help reshape our entire downtown zone. So we don't want to walk away from that. We don't want to harm them in any way, shape, or form. But that, to me, is a separate ask. This is going to be a regional complex that's going to complement what we've done. And I also made the point, too, that, look, you did it already with MCPS agreeing that Poolesville High School had to be rebuilt. And, make no mistake about it, to anybody that's listening out there, Poolesville High School is a regional high school, right? Over 50% of the students come from somewhere else. So if you want to develop a regional center that's going to be in Poolesville, it makes sense. So we're asking them to look at the bubble the same way. So they're going into session, and then we'll see what their reaction is as they go into session. And they were very attentive, and they helped us shape our messaging, and they did a good job. So I appreciate getting listened to, but at the same time, don't start on that's a terrible budget.
Jim,
uh,
when would we be formally bringing this forward, or are representatives going to be bringing it forward in the budget conversations for us?
Right. So they got what I would call the biggest, deepest briefing that anybody's had on this so far. And they have enough to run with it. They're going to go back and caucus and shape their message. And shape their message for the timing and the funding. And we were really strategic about like how fast could it go? What has to happen first? Where's the county standing on this thing? But and it's also a chicken and an egg type thing. Somebody's got to, our $40,000 is nice, and hopefully we'll put some more in for the budget on this go round. But the fact is that once they designate some money for this, then hopefully we're off to the races.
Mm-hmm.
So that's our game plan so far. So, and I appreciate again
great work.
Yeah, thanks. Well, we're going to keep digging on it. So, and thanks for all the good questions. I appreciate that. Several of us went to Andrew Friedson's. I know Ed was there. Andrew Friedson's birthday party / fundraiser. So good. Again, the closest I got to Westmore was looking at his picture again, and that's fine. But that was a big successful fundraiser, and I don't know what's he raising money for, because he hasn't announced for anything. So, we'll see what he's raising the money for. We'll find out. Most people think it's county executive, but we'll see what the deal is there. So, but anyway, it was a good time. When you say you had a lot of people there.
No, I think it was good. It's definitely a good opportunity to network and make sure that Poolesville is visible with the other players. And I think between some of the school board members there, a couple of the county council members there, so that when we're asking for things, it's important for people to see that Poolesville is a very serious town, and that we should be right in the mix with everybody else who's getting things that they're asking for. And so we definitely want to continue to make sure we have a strong presence, not just in Poolesville, but outside of Poolesville where decision makers are hanging out.
Yeah, and every single one was there. That was a hell of a showing for Andrew Friedson. I would say a hell of a showing of support for him. So maybe he skips over county, skips over county executive. You never know. So anyway, that was a good meeting, and all of us, and we also had Tom Kettler there and Bernie Mim, and we had other guys from Poolesville that were all there as a part of it too. Met with David Trone's people. What's that?
I said Link was there too, doing his.
Oh thing. Yeah, definitely Link. Yeah. No, I don't want to. I told Jade Link. Link worked the room like he does. So that was a good time, good meeting. I think it's understood Link is there. So anyway, it was good. Over the last couple of weeks, I've been meeting with various groups that are in Poolesville as we start to shape up our budget discussions. So town staff will get us into this more, but we're going to be meeting with these groups, hearing from these groups, talking to these groups about their budget needs, what I call partners in Poolesville. So I've had informal discussions with people. Nothing's ever been promised, obviously. And they have to, do what they have to do. They have to come meet with us and submit proposals. Some of the stuff are already worked into our budget, but some of these groups need to be a part of the request process. So you'll be seeing them at meetings coming up over the next couple months. And last but not least, we have Canal Town was supposed to meet at Poolesville on Wednesday, but Niles did a nice job of setting those guys up. We're going to meet virtually. They always like an update on what we're doing. This is the one way, it's weird, but this is the one way like the Brunswicks and everybody that's up the canal actually hear what we have going on in Poolesville and vice versa. So I'm sure Link and I will be doing some sort of presentation, but we're going to figure that out on Wednesday. So it's even better. No snacks needed. Everybody bring BYO snacks. So we got off the hook on that one. Anyway, Niles, thanks for setting them up. All right, that's all I got for my committee report. That's plenty, obviously. Any questions from anybody?
Yeah, Jim, I have one, and I hope I'm not opening up a can of worms. But I've had a few people ask me, what's the status with the co-op? Is that still something that's being explored, or is that something that's tabled for the moment?
I still would say, I appreciate you asking. I would still say tabled for now, but we've gotten some we talk about it pretty regularly. And when I say we, it's usually Link and I, and then some other potential stakeholder. And I mean, the scenario, and just to give you an example, there's properties in town that have been identified that could be possibilities for a location. And one of the things that we walked away from our previous meetings, say with Lovettsville and other people and Silver Spring, people that have developed co-ops, they're like, do not focus on location, focus on the mechanics of what you're trying to do. Easy for them to say, considering that Lovettsville went down a 5-year rabbit hole about building it into the old fire department building before they decided unfeasible. So we're trying to figure out, like, you know, what's the best way to develop it. And I'm probably the biggest time burner on this, because I'm talking to people about it. I'm trying to figure out the best way to put this together. We have a nascent group that has agreed to serve as like the initial co-op committee that all come from all different walks of life, but they've been polled and say, all right, well, if we're going to move forward, talk to us about how let's have some dialogue. How do we move this thing? What do we do to get it off the nickel? So we're just not there. I actually sent a long letter to David Trone and said, you know, this is your chance to make a mark on a community that's always supported you. And I didn't hear back, but I met his staffers at Andrew Friedson's gathering. And I said, you know, he's still going to he's taking some of that staff private with him, as he's done now. So yeah, it kicks around, but I hate to say it. I mean, I wish I had more to say, and I'm open to more discussion about it with you guys too.
No, I appreciate it, because I'll get back to the people who've asked me. Thank you.
You're like, all right, that's it for that. Okay. Yeah, understood. Sorry about the long answer on that. But yes, we're still out there. No, it's on my list, man, for, 1 year, 10 months to go. Got to get something done that gets it moving in that direction. So, all right, guys, good stuff. Is anybody up? Wade, Niles, is anybody on there for public comment?
No. Tom Kettler's on for
No.
his.
Okay.
Sorry.
Got it. Okay. Approval of the minutes. Our last meeting was December 2nd, 2024. Guys, I know you guys had a chance to review them. Does anybody have any questions? All right. And that's right. You guys, everybody was there. Yeah. Sarah.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting.
Right. Motion made by Sarah to approve the minutes of December 2nd, 2024. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Brian. Any other questions, changes, etc.? Nope. All in favor of approving the minutes for December 2nd, 2024 as motion, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right, motion's been approved and the minutes been approved, 5-0. New business, the PAC grant request. And this is something that we've had some conversations about to deal with the PAC and their big dinner coming up, which is on a Thursday, first Thursday in February. And is Tom with us, Wade? Or you were waiting to do a...
Here it comes right now.
Do you guys have an intro for him or not?
Nope. Go
Anything?
ahead, Tom. All you.
Unmute yourself, Tom.
Niles, just watching everybody like a hawk. He's almost there. Where's that mute button, man? Down at the bottom.
There
You got it. We're here. We can hear
Hey,
you.
Tom, say something, Tom.
Are you guys ready for me?
Yep.
We're ready for you.
Sorry, I'm just
We're ready,
jumping
man.
on.
You've been
Good
introduced.
evening. Nice to see you all. Tom Kettler, 17917 Elgin Road. Here tonight on behalf of in my role as president of the Poolesville Area Chamber of Commerce. First one on the personal note, compliment the town staff, as I always do, on their tremendous job, the rec department, snow removal department, whatever they're called. I'm doing a great job today. I was at the Cooch tonight getting pizza, thanks to the great job of snow plowing and getting the roads open. It's always so impressive, the job Poolesville does. So just wanted to send out kudos for that. I'm here tonight, and I'm assuming you all have seen the paperwork that I've sent through. I guess I gave it to the town on Friday. Chamber of Commerce does their annual meeting in February every year. And our annual meeting is coming up this year, February the 6th. And I had the idea a couple weeks ago of possibly trying to get more participation from local leaders in the area. And what prompted me to make this request was I talked to some leaders of other chambers of commerce who have had their own events like this, and they invite county representatives, whether it's county council members or state reps or House of Delegates reps, and they get some pushback on the fact that they have to pay for the tickets, but then again, the tickets cost us money. So the thought I had and the request here tonight is to basically put in a sort of a not to exceed request for the town to basically be a supporting sponsor of the dinner, which will be February the 6th. I know the commissioners have always been very good about attending, or a lot of you have, and we certainly are happy to have you at our meetings. And I know the town, hopefully, I think in the past, usually has picked up the tab on it, which certainly is the right thing to do. And I just thought of maybe formalizing that and the town getting a little more credit for that, both within the town and also with the local leaders that we are looking at inviting. I've worked with Jim and Link on putting together a comprehensive list of people who would get invited, and then we would let the people know that they're invited and that their tickets would be, if this grant is awarded, their tickets would be paid for by a grant from the town of Poolesville. And of course, we would only request the amount of funding necessary to pay for the people who actually show up. I mean, I would expect the attendance would be far less than the amount that I'm asking for, and thereby the grant would be much less. But I just wanted to be, comprehensive in the invites that we made. So I'm happy to answer any questions if that's self-explanatory enough. And I know you have my written grant application in front of you also. So I'm happy to answer questions, and appreciate the time to speak with you tonight.
Yes, questions, anybody?
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for coming and talking to us today, Tom.
Sure.
I was not able to make it last year. Tell me what happens at this event. Like, I know it's the annual dinner. What happens? What's the agenda?
Yeah, Sarah, we've done it in different formats the last couple of years, and COVID really put a wrinkle in it. Statutorily, that's the wrong term, but our bylaws call that we have to have an annual meeting in February every year. And what we've typically done is, I was involved in the chamber about 20 years ago, we've typically combined trying to do an annual meeting, which is very brief. I mean, it's basically just an update to our members with a dinner itself, which is obviously a networking opportunity. The format we did last year, and we did it at Crossvines, which was very nice. And we like to move it around also, although we recognize in February our venues are somewhat limited. So the board decided to go back to Crossvines this year. Because it's, it can fit us in, fit the size of the group, and we have the issue that it's in February, so we can do one of these, local outdoor venues because we freeze to death. The format on the evening is we have basically a happy hour from 5 to 6, which is a cash bar. We have our business meeting, which is free to all our members from 6 to 6:30, and then right after that we break the dinner itself. The theory, Sarah, is that we want to, because we've had some pushback on people saying they don't want to have to pay to come to an annual meeting. Mm-hmm. So we've tried to we sort of came up with this format last year where, we're sort of rolling two things into one, and it is the one, it's a sit-down dinner, obviously, in the Crossvines.
So people could come to the sort of cash bar / 30-minute business meeting. And then if they couldn't afford it or, weren't planning on it.
Exactly. The dinner. Yeah, exactly. So that way, right. If you don't want to pay for the dinner, you come to the meeting, and we sort of filled that responsibility without feeling like people have to pay money to come to the dinner. And last year we had probably, I think 70-75 people showed up at the dinner. And we had a fairly good representation. We did have some local politicians. I will say that last year.
Mm-hmm.
Surprised with it. I was pleasantly surprised that we had Mark Elrich came out. I think partly, to be honest with you, the fact that it's a Crossvines helps because, of course, the county was very involved in that facility, and I think they want to, show support for it. So that was good. But I mean, to the extent that we can increase our participation from local leaders through this grant, I think that's to me that's a win-win because the town, brings more local politicians and leaders to the area, and obviously we want them to interface with our business community, which we obviously I feel and our chamber feels is an integral part of what makes Poolesville.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, good point, Tom. And I will say this: Tom got the fair access list and carved it down very neatly to get it to something that was manageable. Really, our most important people that have gotten it out there to it. Not that not everybody's important, but he really carved it down to our most important people.
Yeah,
And,
I got the initial list from Lincoln. I kind of had a heart attack when I first saw it because there wasn't many people. So between Jim and Lincoln and I kind of caucused to pare it down. And again, as I said, there are people. We're inviting the people that I know. We're inviting the governor. We're inviting the lieutenant governor. Part of it is the politics, I think, of inviting them. I don't expect them to come. But we might, Runa might show up. I don't think S'more's going to show up, but I think it's partly just getting the chamber and, the town of Poolesville on people's radar screen, which is part of what I try to do as chamber president.
Hey, Tom, quick question. Is Brooke,
Sure.
the comptroller, is she on your list?
What's that?
The comptroller, Brooke, is she on your list by chance?
No, but we certainly can add that. We have, I don't
Good
believe
point.
we have a controller on the list.
No, but that might be just someone to add on the list as well.
Yeah, I'm certainly wide open, and we haven't said anything out yet, of course, because we're waiting on tonight's results, and we have the email list, but I'm certainly I welcome any other folks. Like I said, that's going to show up, so I don't.
Okay. Well, yeah, if you need help getting her information, we can help you with that.
Yeah, if you could
I have
forward
her
it to me, that's
information
great.
from-
And if the commissioners are in agreement with having, and anybody else you can think of, we're on the list too. I think I mentioned we're inviting Town Yost, Assistant Town Manager Niles, and we expect Wade to truck in that night for us, or at least we'll get we at least hope to get Niles if we can't get Wade. But I think to me it's
That would be
important
great.
to get the town folks in front of our business. And Niles, I will say, Niles last year spoke at one of our breakfast meetings at my invitation, which I thought was nice because I think the more people get in front of town staff, I think the better.
Tom, I love the idea of this, and I think it's actually cheap dollars spent for good political capital. Gets them out to Crossvines, lets them see what we have going on, let them meet the business community. They're used to seeing our same old faces, so it's good for that's a great way to communicate. Again, Crossvines is always a good experience. So appreciate you putting it together. And the only thing I would say in addition to that is that I think that that just make sure that when you hold this thing, that you save some time for those electeds to say a few words, like the Marilyn Balcombs and those guys. That's really where they get the political capital back from us, is when they get to address the crowd. So that night, I will be there that night. We can sit there and kind of have a conversation about who we want to line up to get them out there, or the commissioners kind of general, or whoever's there. but let's make sure that we give them a little bit of speaking time. Like, I love listening to Frank Jameson talk. I don't want to do my Frank Jameson imitation, but he's great. But I'd love to hear how these the political types, if it's obviously Marilyn Balcom, who's an experienced Chamber of Commerce person, etc. We probably better make a little time for them to say a couple words too when they get in there.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's always a balance because obviously we're trying to. And last year I had that. Like Mark Eldridge was there. I introduced him. I honestly didn't give him a chance to talk just because I was at the time. And if you open up the box, then then all of a sudden you got 10 people. But I agree. I mean, I to the extent that we can get short chats from Maryland. I think Maryland's great, and I'd love to.
This is the payback on giving them the free meal, is that you give them the chance to do that, and then they feel more tied into us. So and Mark Eldridge is specifically who I'm thinking about, that he wants to talk every single time, and
exactly.
he had a chance to crow about Crossvines last year, and we want to give him that chance to do that because we need his next investment.
Yeah.
So
I hear.
I appreciate it, Tom. Thank you.
Yeah. The other thing, Sarah, one thing I forgot to mention, the other thing we do at that dinner is we announce a community every year for the last 20 years. We've awarded a community service award recipient at the dinner. And that's when we announced it last year. Yeah, again, there have been 20 different people who've gotten it. So we'll be doing that again this year. And that's another nice, thing that
it's great. Great for the community. Yep.
Wonderful.
Good. All right, Tom, appreciate the presentation. Wade, what do we need to do next? Further conversation amongst the commissioners. Are you guys okay with this? I make you bet the total dollars spent is going to be less than $1,000 when it comes down to it.
Yeah, no, I'm 100% on board. Yep.
Okay, gotcha. Someone want to make a motion to approve the grant request from the Poolesville Area Chamber of Commerce for funding of tickets for elected officials?
Yes, that'd be it. And funding is in place also. So
you've already said it, Jim.
I did just say as yeah. Well, I just made it up as I went along. So, but yeah, the money's already in our grant
community
section.
Grant. I make a motion that we approve the community grant request from the Poolesville Area Chamber of Commerce to fund a number of tickets not to exceed $2,000 for the annual Chamber of Commerce business dinner.
All right.
Excellent. Couldn't have said it better myself, Sarah. Good job. Second by Ed.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other comments or questions from the commissioners period on this? All in favor of approving the grant request, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Nope. Okay, Tom, you're approved. Thanks for working with us on this.
Very much.
Thanks, Tom. I appreciate
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks.
Yeah, appreciate you. Thanks, Tom. All right, guys, good stuff. All right, now we get to the meat of the order for tonight, the water rate study. I threw it out there on Facebook today to try and gather some to break the ice on it a little bit, if you'll pardon the expression. And didn't get any feedback, but I'm sure there's going to be some people talking about it. Wade, go ahead, or Niles, whoever's going to kick us off.
Point of information. Yes. I can't open the link that's on the agenda. I am able to open what you sent us, the Poolesville Annual Water Capacity Report, but the Poolesville water rate study, it goes to like an error. So
yeah, I've got it. It does open on mine.
I was able to open it on the website, so I can put that link in the chat. Just give me.
You go to the website. Oh, so maybe it's just a broken link from our agenda.
From the website, I bet because you amended it, Wade.
Maybe you did, huh?
Yeah.
No,
So,
I got it from the agenda.
yeah, I will.
From the agenda and it opened up.
Yeah,
me too.
I also have a PDF, like an Adobe account, so I don't know if that makes a difference or not.
And I just sent it to you on email again. Maybe you can, if you can see it on your email, see if it's the same thing.
That, everyone. Sorry for disrupting the flow.
Okay, so everybody's had an opportunity, I guess, to take a look at this. It's been a long time in the discussion process with Jim and I. We knew when we did the closeout last year, we were $77,000 in the red as far as the water and sewer operations go. And we have a long history of carrying a deficit in the water and sewer accounts. So we sat down and said, let's take a look at maybe a different approach to tackling this problem and see if we can get some more revenue up and make it more equitable across the board as far as non-taxpayers and taxpayers. So I'll go through the report, but I definitely don't want to bore everybody to death and go point by point. So please, if there's anything that I'm missing or I jump over, just stop me and ask the question and we'll just roll with it. But one thing I want to point out is the first chart there, and it takes a look at the what our charges are and how we're broken down into 4-tier system. WSSC has actually expanded a little bit, but I reduced it to make it into 4 categories, so it made more sense for us. And then Rockville, very similar. They charge a lot more money for water relatively than what we charge. And one big thing to note is they have the same expenses that we have, and they have a 2 to 3% increase in general operations and maintenance. We try to maintain our employees' salaries like they do also, because we've lost several superintendents and stuff over the years to WSSC. And so I think it's important that we realize, we are behind the 8 ball as far as collecting revenue for our water and sewer system. Mm-hmm. And we're the same with our competitors. They're charging more and able to do more. Plus, they have a much larger consumer base than we do. Small towns in general have a more difficult time just because of a smaller base to deal with. So with that, I also wrote down in that chart what operations actually are as far as costs go. And it's $19 per 1,000 gallons for operations. And then if we do the capital and the operations together, it's $28 per 1,000 gallons, what it actually costs us to operate the system and produce that water. And we certainly charge a lot less than that. So this is going all forward just on the second page there. There's some other charts. And you can see we've never really we come close to making up enough revenue to cover operations, and we've never ever come close to covering the capital aspect of it, not ever. And years ago, the commissioners actually voted and made under resolution that we would fund all our capital expenses out of the general fund because we knew we couldn't do it. And we tried to get loans and stuff. We had to show that we were solvent as far as the process goes. And we had a manner to go ahead and pay our debt. So having said that, I also threw in a structure for Middletown. And you can see theirs is much different. And there's several of it this way. They have a base charge and then breaking down the charge to all the categories every 5,000 gallons, and the price goes up to, by the time you get to 50,000 gallons, it's $68 per 1,000 gallons. Mm-hmm. They do that because their objective is for conservation. They've had some water issues in the past, and they really were very strict as far as enforcing their conservation laws, and you see it with him in the pocketbook if they use too much. And the chart does keep going for a much longer ways. And this makes my point here. I'm not going to carry it on any further. But I think the important part of this is everybody, including down like on the Eastern Shore here, where the towns that have folks that have a house and then don't stay here year round, they have a base charge for them too. So everybody sets their rates and develops a rate system to fulfill their objectives and the revenue that they have. So there's no just set of 4 tiers and you're stuck with that. Several years ago, we had like a 7-tiered thing and the commissioners collapsed it back down. That was about 10 years ago, probably. So what we're going to propose tonight is a little bit of a different thing to create different categories and use some principles. I also have a chart here that kind of depicts, you can see most of our users are in the 7,000 to 15,000 gallon category. And then, it's pretty equal between 15, 25 and what the lower end users are. What's interesting is the 25,000 and up, most of those people fall between 25 and 35,000 gallons per quarter. Except in the summertime, we do have several that jump up into the 40 and 50,000 gallon per day or per quarter categories. And so we want to address that. And then the largest users, of course, are the restaurants and the county themselves. So what we're taking a look at doing is just creating a whole other rate structure, 3 different categories. The first proposal is for a Category 1 just being residential, and adding a couple categories to it, a 30 to 35, or instead of having a 25 and up, 25 to 35, and then a 35 to a 40,000 and up. And that's going to helpfully curve down some of those high-end users. Could result in less revenue also, because it may just really curb conservation, which is our ultimate goal anyways. And yeah, so that's, and so, and the reason why I'm saying this is because this summer, and actually the last 2 summers, we had some dry summers, and we know that we had to request voluntary restrictions to be put in place for people to conserve and cut back. We knew that the wastewater plant, we're only bringing in 325,000 gallons per day, and we're pumping out 750,000 gallons a day in the water system. So you know it's all going outside in water use, and people not conserving. And that's a lot for a community our size. We should be able to really only, our annual average should not exceed 650,000 gallons per day for a month. And we were a couple of times very close to going over 750 until we asked for restrictions or voluntary restrictions, and people jumped right back. And then the next couple of days, it dropped 150,000 gallons per day. So
Good.
yeah, it's great that people do listen to that. The second category would be a commercial category, leaving the same structure that's in place right now. We know most of them are in that upper category that pay more than what the operations are by themselves. And they really don't have a way to conserve. And we know that because we can see the summertime data, the wintertime data. There's not a seasonal fluctuation at all. So it's very steady. And I think for economic development purposes, we sat down and said, okay, there's no reason they're paying their fair share. There's no reason to hurt them as far as if they use too much, because they're already way past the highest category that is more than what it actually costs to produce it. And the third category would be governmental. And we know that's going to be the 3 schools and the pool. Again, some of our highest users right there. And we know that the other people, those 2 categories, they pay property taxes. And we know to supplement our capital programs with tax dollars so that these people do not supplement, these users do not supplement our tax base. And so to pay their fair share, we came up with a flat rate fee, which we'll get to in a second. So treat them all differently, but for the same goal of getting the revenue that we need out of them to make it fair and equitable and foster conservation still. So as we go down to page 6, you can see we've laid out exactly what we're going to propose here. For the residential one, you see the increased categories. Also, we've laid it out for a 3-year period on all 3 categories, a 5% increase in 26, 27, and 28. And the upper levels, you can see 40,000 and up. It's a big jump as far as what that cost is going to be relative to what it was. At 22.39, it goes to 44.62, and then 5% increase across the board. And again, most of our users, residential, are not even in this category, except in the late summer times when it's dry. Okay, category number 2, commercial. Again, proposing a 5% increase over the next 3 years, keeping the same 4-tiered system. And then with the governmental, a flat rate fee, and this is the actual cost of capital, and including the potential debt service that we're going to incur from the waterline project is also calculated into this. And that's going to have a 5% increase over the next 3 years also. And that plays into the role that we know already that our added cost in for the PFAS and the uranium media change outs, and we're talking about potential increases in salaries again this year. So all these things have been kind of put into play with the calculations we developed for this. And then the last page here, I just kind of wanted to show the per quarter charge. It's really not that much impact for an individual. And you can see, I think that the lower end razor users, the orange there, it's like $80 per month, and it increases by by the 4th year, you're just barely getting to $100 per quarter, that month per quarter. And then the higher end users, that is the top end of the high users, and it still increases where it's $200 now. By that 4th year, it's still about $245. So it is an increase over the 4-year period, We're trying to stay away from any rate shock. It's a spread out the pain over the 3 years. And what we're projected in for a revenue, where we have about 1.75 right now million for our revenue from user fees, will jump up just at over 2 million by FY28. And so that should put us ahead of the game as far as being able to fund operations and maybe even some capital.
Okay.
Wait, so thank you for putting all this together, buddy. And so, we obviously we've been tweaking it over the last couple of weeks, and I think you really hit the mark. And just to be sure, and I'll let everybody else can talk about this and banter back and forth a little bit, but this is a true balancing act. Wade, I would say, underemphasized how difficult a small water system is in terms of revenue versus, say, a Rockville, or these people that have these rates that are higher than ours, with many, many more users than we have. So we have to be, it's a real balancing act to see what's the best way to do this and encourage conservation and put the charges appropriately where they belong, in our opinion, versus necessarily on the burden on the shoulders of our low users don't pay that much anyway, and they don't use that much. So there's not a reason to punish those guys for how, what their use is. So a true balancing act. I think this rejiggers the balancing act to a degree for all of us. And I think that, and Wade said it earlier too, and we were talking about this with Niles, is that there are, that nothing stays static as far as this goes. This is never, water is, and water costs are never a set it and forget it type situation. They have to be adjusted constantly. And this year we really looked at some of these other models to see what was out there, not just saying, oh, what does WSSC do? We looked around at what other people really do to try and get it, because, hey, we've got residential customers, and, these are the people that, we sit at locals with, and we got to be fair, but at the same time, we have to be honest about what our real costs are, and the real costs of mitigating PFAS as time goes on too. So I think this addresses all of that. And you can see it puts a pretty heavy burden on our municipal users, and a municipal burden that they have long since, and Wade made a very good point on this. They don't pay taxes. They don't contribute to our capital in any way. They have pipes that come to their places, and we deliver them water. And they have no contribution to us from a tax perspective. I mean, they're important, right? We're not trying to diss them. But anyway.
I really appreciate this, Wade. I feel like, as Jim has pointed out, that this distributes the costs fairly and more accurately. And I really appreciate that strategically you've also built in incentives for conservation, which is also important.
Yeah.
I second that, Sarah.
Yeah, I'll echo that as well, especially when we look at this category number 3 here, and I'm looking at what's being proposed, because it is we spent a long time subsidizing a lot of water, and I think that at some point you can't continue to subsidize the way we've been subsidizing. And so I like the approach that you have here, and especially that gradual approach over time.
Yeah, it basically says, if you don't want to conserve, we still will deliver you water. We need to sell water in order for this system to be solvent, right? But if you're going to use it, then you have to pay a realistic cost for it. And that, say, you can see it in the high users of residential. Definitely, we're trying not to harm our commercial zone, but they're definitely have to pay a little bit more there. And then the governmental's got to step up to the plate.
And we're still protecting that lower use category, the elderly and lower income folks in the low use category.
Yeah. If you hear from people you remember last year, we had several people say, "Oh my God, my water bill went from $180 to like $150. What happened?" Well, here's the real numbers right here. You can see this is a 5% increase for the most part across the way. And if they've got an increased water bill you have the ability to push back and say, listen, we were we're very tightly structured on this. If you've got a leak or you've got a running toilet or something like that, yeah, you got to get it taken care of. And you can run up some really big money. And I know some of us know this. You can run up some really big money by having things that leak. So, I think we tackle that.
And it does provide the opportunity for people to save money. If they conserve water, you
Right.
can,
In their hands.
Control and power there.
Yeah. Yep. No, totally agree.
Yeah.
Any other color to add to this, John? Anything on your side? I know you beamed in here.
Hey, Don.
You're muted, John.
I surprised him.
Okay.
Okay.
I guess he does want to join.
You're speaking, John, but we can't hear you because you're muted.
Yeah.
He's trying. I feel it's going to happen any second.
It's that tropical background.
It's down there at the bottom.
Yep,
It's that little button down at the bottom.
Yeah.
The microphone one.
Oh man, I should have sent him a text and told him he was.
Left corner pocket.
Wait, while we wait for John,
This
what
is,
else?
this is
What
what
else is
engineering
there?
you're trying to figure it out.
Yes, right. You're right.
John,
He's
you
on,
did it.
he's on.
You got it.
There you go.
Yeah.
The problem is that I'm working off my cell phone, so let me change that background. Well, whatever.
It's okay, man. You good.
Okay.
All the dead things.
The biggest thing is for people to go ahead and monitor the leakages in the house. So the toilets are running, and we all have that problem where a little bit of on the seal gets in place. The toilet can flush every 5 minutes, basically, and you're flushing a lot of water down the drain.
Yeah, I think maybe as a part of this, we'll still be talking about. We kicked it around conservation methods to discuss. And again, one of them is definitely going to be how you maintain your equipment. I had a townhouse in Frederick that had a running toilet, and their quarterly water bill usually was like 100 to 110, and it was 1,000 with the running toilet. It just took nothing to run that number way up. So yeah, so we could talk about that. Anyway, questions about this, guys? Again, we're not reinventing the wheel totally, but we are kind of reinventing it. And it's, again, the mindset is it doesn't stay static. It is something you adjust according to how the needs of your community. We're not trying to shoebox ourselves into being like Middletown. But at the same time, too, we've got costs, and we don't have a ton of users to spread those costs around, too.
So are we looking for a vote on this?
Yeah.
No, so here's what we'll do.
Just a-
So we wanted to get this out and get it introduced into your hands, and having a good discussion of it prior to the budget coming up. So what we need to do is put this into a resolution format. We can introduce it at the next meeting. In 2 weeks, we can have a public hearing, and then finally we can take it up for a vote in March. So that's kind of like the lay of what the code requires for us to do.
Slow rollout. Got it.
Yeah, and for those for Alan and Brian, this these next few months, we have a pretty consistent meeting schedule that allows us to accomplish all the things that we know we have to accomplish under time frames. So, and this is one of them, and this is the introduction of one of those.
Perfect.
And then just one of those things to keep in mind. I think about when we had made some changes in one of the I'm trying to remember who it was, but when they looked at how we rolled the information out and how we could really make sure that we do a better job of public awareness. So I'm just thinking too, I think it was Julie Coleman when we were dealing with the pesticide issues. And I was thinking about her feedback just in terms of how we share information. So that's, as we're moving forward, perhaps we could look at what are some of these innovative or creative ways to make sure people understand the why behind what we're doing, and then the how in terms of, because I think there's going to be a misperception of saying Poolesville has a water problem, which is not, how the chatter gets up there. But I think it's, if more people realize the true facts and can see the data and be like, okay, wow, we really been real lucky because it's been subsidized and it's something that's, in my opinion, that is overdue.
Yeah.
So how do we gently communicate that in such a way and be ready to have those discussions with residents to make sure everybody gets on board and say, oh yeah, okay, this makes sense.
Is there a way we could reach out to the Monocacy Monocle and make sure that the context for this really gets covered in terms of some of the history and how the comparison between different communities and the strategy of the tiers, all of that?
Yep, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Link is my man on that, right?
Yeah. Is he around tonight? Is he listening?
Link's probably watching, knowing
He's
Link.
probably watching. Yeah.
And so it's I think what we're doing here is very transparent, and I know we'll have the hearings, but then I also know there are people who will ignore the information that there's going to be hearing, and then all of a sudden it's wait, where did this come from? So I think if we can get in front of that, sharing this information, and I think that would be a good thing.
Okay, definitely we'll push it.
Yeah. The chart's not, what you're seeing right here is for our clarification, our purposes. I think we're going to get into the how and why versus here's the stats when we do the messaging. And I think that'll help us, and we'll figure out a good way to put it out there, not overdo it, not turn it into a multi-pager, but have it be something that can be consumed properly. So yeah, it's a good point. I think that's important.
Yeah, not to beat a dead horse, but I remember years ago when we were talking about, there was that nice little video that was put out just about what goes in your toilet, what doesn't go in your toilet, but the water piece. But I think when you look at simple things that can be done in your house that you might take for granted about ways to conserve water, I'll use my house as an example, making sure my kids understand what a time limit is in the shower. But when you look at what are some of those little things we can do in our own houses to not waste water and taking it for granted.
And we don't need to reinvent the wheel. The county and other conservation organizations have come up with fantastic PSAs and explanations for how to conserve water. I think if we can just
do the research of what they put out already.
You gotta educate it. We just gotta educate
the
everybody.
education part.
Yep. A good work, staff.
Yeah. Good job, guys.
As
Good
always.
job bringing the concept to life. Appreciate it.
Excellent.
All right, that's all we have on that. Unless you guys have more. Nope. That's it. All right. Is it? I let me see. Found my agenda again.
So we're
Old
on
business.
to old business.
Nothing on old business. I take it.
Nope.
Okay. A very good town manager's report. Bring it.
Okay. Well, as we talked earlier, our field staff has been very busy. Preston and his guys have been out there since early this morning. They have it just about all cleared. He called me a little while ago. He said it's getting ready to have another inch, maybe two. So they're waiting to do one last clearing and salting before they go home. And then they have 30 some miles out of wind there, I think, tomorrow. So there's going to be a lot of drifting going on. So he's going to be cleaning up the next couple of days, preparing for Saturday because there's another wave coming on Saturday potentially. So we also had a large water main break in Westmont, and it was large enough that it split the pipe vertically, which typically doesn't happen. Usually it breaks right in half, but it split long ways and blew wide open and almost drained the one of the water tanks. So we had quite a bit of loss. That was on New Year's Day, and they fixed that. So very cold that day also. But it's that time of year when we hit the hardest outside. Administrative staff has begun working on the development of the 26 budget. We actually have meetings with department heads and look at their wishes and wants for the year, as well as we're doing our salaries. Niles is collecting information on the salary survey right now. We'll be presenting to you, and then once we get some of that stuff together, we'll be sitting down with Jim and going over the base budget, getting it prepared. Typically, what we do, we have a work session sometime in March to with everybody on a Saturday morning. So we don't have a date yet, but once we get closer to that, we'll lay some times out there, proposed for that work session. And Thursday, town hall will be closed because President Biden called it a federal holiday for honoring Jimmy Carter.
Okay.
That's all I have. Any questions?
No, thanks a lot. And once again, congratulations to thank you to Preston and his crew.
Yeah.
I heard him outside early this morning.
I have not
Yeah.
ventured out yet, but once I do, I'm sure I'll be impressed.
Yeah, I saw Morningstar already plowing Hughes Road about, I don't know, probably about 6:50. So they're up there early.
Yeah.
Going for
the guy-
my sunrise, walkathon. So
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. The guy's doing a hell of a job, period. Lucky we have him. This debate, no need to talk about it tonight, but we've talked about, there's residents out there that talked about outsourcing all this stuff too. So, just keep that in mind and put it in your pocketbook over the next, few years is when there's ever talk about that. I think did it come out that we could save a few bucks doing it? Grass cutting and snow plowing?
And if that's all they did was cut some grass and plow the snow and nothing in between. But
Yeah.
calls from residents about a fox going wild in their backyard to, buzzers in my trash can. So we respond to things all the time, constantly. So
not
the
including
guys,
the emergency situations,
right.
yeah.
Yep.
Now the guys do a great
They're
job.
constantly busy, so I can't even imagine outsourcing.
Right.
Like,
And I think
keep
one
them
of the things,
busy.
yeah. And one of the things that is unmatched, though, is his care and compassion for the community. That when that emergency comes up, is that, okay, hey, here's a town that I love. Let me get to work. Contractors don't always have that same love.
That's right.
Yeah. Exactly.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. Well, that's good. Anything else for town staff? Anything else for us before we adjourn?
All right, I motion to adjourn then.
All right. In the spirit of Martin Radigan, you lead the motions, and I appreciate that. So we have